My 29 female husband, 34, has a pre-tween son, Luca, from a fling, Shanna. My husband and Shanna are not on good terms. She and my husband were never in a relationship but agreed to co-parent. However, Shanna got into a relationship with another man who didn't want Luca in his home, and she decided to stop picking up Luca when he was a toddler. I was introduced to Luca when he was a toddler and we got along great. Luca and I share a strong bond, with me taking on a sort of parental role for him as he started calling me mommy and mom when I got pregnant. Being financially comfortable, my husband and I tend to spoil him a lot, and his clinginess has reached a point where he checks on me in the middle of the night since I'm now pregnant. The love and indulgence extend from my in-laws to my own family. He eagerly looks forward to Fridays at my parents' place for grandma's cooking and treats and gifts from grandpa. About a year ago, Shanna aggressively tried to take custody of Luca. We were advised to give in to her demands, which was a mistake, and she has visitation every other Sunday. Every time he has to go to Shanna, he screams and kicks. He doesn't want to go, and the one time we went with him, he told Shanna that he hated her. Shanna always thought Luca clinging to me was creepy, so she brought in her mystery psychologist who suggested my family and I step back, blaming us for babying him and having zero discipline at home, even though he's totally different with us. My husband got suspicious about his conclusion and we got our own therapist. We only had a few sessions, but she said our home situation seemed stable and loving. My sister's friend, who also knows Shanna, contacted me. She basically said the same as the psychologist. She went all out on me and said it was my fault. I had just agreed with them. I'm entirely done with this situation. I just don't have the energy for this anymore. I'm 38 weeks pregnant, the baby will be here any day. I'm just done. Usually my husband and I do everything together for Luca. Against my husband's wishes, I decided to do what Shanna wanted and completely step back from Luca as a parental figure. Luca hasn't noticed anything and is completely fine. However, my husband, in-laws, and family are not happy with me. My mom literally comes to my home every day to talk to me about it. I want to focus on having the baby and not constantly be blamed for everything I do for Luca. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. There's no way that I would let a deadbeat mother who chose a man and abandoned her child, whom I've been raising since he was a toddler, come back and dictate to me and my husband my relationship with my son. I would not step back, and if anything, I would go mama bear on her and not make him see her if he didn't want to. You put in all the hard work with his father while the egg donor was out living her best life. And now she thinks she can just become his mom again after 6 years away? Put Luca first, screw everyone else. You either tell them to pound sand and be his mom like you have been so far, or choose to be a crap human and abandon the poor child as his genetic donor did. Get Luca with a therapist and get documentation that going to his bio-mom's house is detrimental to him. She looks like she was waiting for the first viable opportunity to drop the stepchild and focus on her real kid. I can't think of any other reason to act so cowardly and cruel suddenly. She's 100% using this as an excuse to abandon Luca now that her real child is about to be born. I mean, they could take some of that financial comfort and get an enforceable custody order, but I guess pretending that emotional abuse is just fine is easier. I'd rather die than do this to my stepdaughter. I disagree. OP's not the idiot. You're assuming malice when exhaustion is a just as likely reason. All while growing another human being, being beset by the ex and the ex's minions about how it's OP's fault Luca doesn't love his absent bio-mom the way she thinks she should be loved. She doesn't have the energy to fight or deal with that and is hoping by taking a strategy of appeasement she can end it. I don't think she's looking to dump Luca at this point. She's heavily pregnant and exhausted. My ex-wife and I live in different states and I'm the primary parent. My son goes to visit his mom 4 times every year: Thanksgiving, Christmas, spring break and summer vacation. Altogether it comes out to about 11-ish weeks out of the year. Before, I used to pack my son's bag with multiple outfits, folding everything nicely and even sending warm outfits, as his mom lives in an area where it snows. But many times now when I get the bag back, the clothes are thrown in there, all wrinkled, and they even seem unwashed. I've sent him with his Nintendo Switch and a few games. Many times now when he gets back I find articles of clothing missing, and even some of the quite costly games have gone missing too. I've become annoyed by this to the point where I decided I won't be bothered to make all this extra effort. She should already have clothes there for him. So he left today and his mom made a big deal about me not sending any clothes along. She said she didn't have any socks or underwear. Was I wrong to expect her to have something at all? How can you have zero clothes for your son? She argues that I'm the primary parent and that he outgrows the clothes too quickly. I feel like clothes should last at least a year or two before they get outgrown, especially if you size up. So, am I the idiot for sending my son to his mom's without clothes? Edit, she decided to move out of state and pay zero child support. I did not act to get back at his mom. If I wanted to get back at her, I would go and get child support from her. I did this to avoid the frustration of worrying about things going missing and wondering what may have gone missing that I didn't even realize. You are the idiot. It's normal for people to return from a trip with dirty laundry. You leave home with clean, folded clothes. You wear the clothes. You return home with a bag of dirty laundry. You're being absurd to complain about that. It's also ridiculous to expect her to keep a wardrobe of clothes for your son that he would wear a scant handful of times. And it's absurd for you to expect your son not to wear his favorite clothes when he's at her place. Well, hang on. If I go somewhere and stay in a hotel, I return home with dirty clothes because I don't have access to my washer and dryer in the hotel. But surely OP's ex has access to laundry facilities, and we all know she doesn't just buy herself all new clothes all the time, she does laundry for herself. And if her son stays with her for any length of time, she's almost certainly doing laundry for herself during that time. So it doesn't seem unreasonable to me to expect her also to do her young child's laundry. I think OP also has reason to be concerned about the child not returning home with all his belongings. The ex needs to ensure that the kid's things don't go missing. I agreed that she should have clothes at the ready. She's still her child too. She can be a mother and provide what her son needs with no excuses. For crying out loud, she doesn't even pay child support, LOL. OP's not the idiot. Most kids who go back and forth between their parents have clothes, games, toys, and books in two homes. About 2 months ago, my wife, 38, and I, male 41, learned my stepdaughter, teen, was bullying a girl in school over being poor, getting free lunch at school, and not being able to afford necessities such as her own car and stuff. Our daughter was kinda spoiled. We provided her with everything she needed, an allowance and a part-time job at my company, a small family service business. We've been considered middle class, doing things others weren't as privileged to do, such as buying our daughter a car on her recent birthday. I come from a family of immigrants and was considered in poverty growing up. After learning about the bullying, I was furious as we thought we didn't raise her to behave that way. She was in honors and top ranking in her class. I tried to talk to our daughter about why she would do that, and I was disturbed to learn it was because she viewed that girl as trailer trash, which irritated me. The girl, as I understand it, is very smart and works hard. She bought her own beater car and works 2 jobs. She considered the money our family had as our family's money, so I put her in her place and told her that it was not her money but her mom's and I's money. I decided from that point I would no longer spoil my daughter. We ended up taking away her latest iPhone and replacing it with my old iPhone 8 by switching phones with me with a talk and text plan. We took away her family credit card and sold her car, along with her MacBook and other luxuries. I also told her to find a job without nepotism and work a minimum wage job like everyone else her age, because I'm done giving her handouts if she's going to act entitled. Fast forward 2 months later, she's working at a fast food restaurant with us driving her around. She doesn't talk to me unless she needs something like a ride, but she's very upset with me. My wife feels I'm taking this too far because it affects her social status, grades, and school. I, however, feel like she needs to be humbled because I can't have a daughter who will disrespect people just because of the amount of money they have. I also feel that her behaving this way will affect her younger sister, tween, and how she perceives the world. Am I the idiot for punishing my teen stepdaughter after we found out she was bullying a kid for being poor? Edit, I'd like to add we took away her MacBook, but she still has access to the family computer in the house. She still has Wi-Fi access at the house. However, we did throttle her speed because high-speed internet is a privilege. She has fast enough internet to do homework and watch videos that aren't in HD like Netflix and stuff. She also isn't failing. She went from a straight A student to mostly B's and 2 A's, which I still find great. Definitely not the idiot. And I'm proud of you for standing up to your stepdaughter and giving her a taste of what life is really like. You may just have saved her from that path to the bad place that she was on. She acts very privileged and entitled from what you described. It's good for her to see how the other half lives. It's very eye-opening. I would continue this path for at least a year so that she doesn't slide back. Hopefully, you will have a much more respectful and kind stepdaughter. It really is too bad other parents don't do more stuff like this to their children, instead of spoiling them rotten and then wondering why they're in jail. If her social status is based on belittling those less fortunate, then screw her social status. You should also make her volunteer at a homeless shelter or serve meals to the poor. Your daughter needs to learn empathy and humility. As for your wife, she needs to get a clue. Taking away and selling her luxury items and making her work a typical teenage job is not affecting her grades. Her grades come from the effort she puts in. By dropping her grades, she figured she could get the punishments to end. I'm sorry she was spoiled and entitled in the first place, but I'm glad you took real issue with it. In the end, I hope these life lessons shape who she becomes. Buckle up for at least a rocky year. I 100% agree. However, I've held the belief that if someone is bullying, it could be because they are being bullied or there is some other negative influence in their life. Most happy and mentally healthy kids and teens won't participate in such activities unless other influences drive the behavior. Is there anything else you can think of that may cause this behavior? I do see there may be a need for some counseling. My husband, 36, and I, 32 female, have been together for a decade, married for 3 years. I'm currently 8 months pregnant. We're a mixed-race couple, with him being Chinese and myself European. Throughout our relationship, his parents have been generally very supportive of me, with some cultural differences here and there. My husband works with his extended family, and we lived on his parents' property for a long while, so they've supported us financially in several ways. His dad can be tough to get along with. He's very much of the opinion that he is right, and nothing anyone can say will change his mind, even if he ever even listened. My husband regularly butts heads with him, and I often let things he says slide that I would typically passionately disagree with, just to keep the peace. I did find this very hard. It took us a couple of years to conceive, and I've had a complicated pregnancy. We decided earlier in the pregnancy to do a hyphenated last name, with the order of his choosing. I know not everyone likes hyphenated last names, but this is important to me for a couple of reasons. I didn't take my husband's last name, which I never intended on doing, and is commonplace in Chinese culture, so it never caused any issues. And to me, since our baby is mixed race, I wanted to grow up represented by both of her ancestries equally. My husband didn't disagree at first, but when he realized how much it meant to me and that his opinion stemmed from an ingrained patriarchal concept, he changed his mind. We didn't announce it because it seemed insignificant to us, but we told people if they asked. Now his dad found out. He gave my husband an ultimatum. Either you give the baby my last name, or I cut you out of the family. This means he would lose everything, his family and also his job, which is currently our only source of income, and we just bought a home. His dad won't even talk to him to discuss the matter and how we came to this decision. I understand where he's coming from, but this means a lot to me too. My husband is torn, which hurts. I'm worried about the precedent it will set to let him have his way, without even discussing it with us or hubby. Every time I write my daughter's name, it will remind me that I'm not considered important enough to be a part of her story in his family's eyes. This has created a lot of anger, pain, and stress so close to my due date. Would I be the idiot for standing my ground? You are the idiot. Listen. I get this is important to you, and I agree your father-in-law is being an idiot. It's not for him to decide this, but what are you all doing? You're saying you don't want to partake in a patriarchal worldview, but guess what? It's those patriarchal conservative views that believe in providing housing and a job for their son and his wife. And you're also not working and dependent on your husband. Maybe your father-in-law thinks you're also a girl who believes in patriarchal roles. So in his perspective, you've slapped him in the face. Yeah, it's really hard to effectively chant, "Screw the patriarchy," when you're putting your hand out every month for money from your patriarch to pay your bills. OP can bunk the system, or she can keep the gravy train running. Can't do both. Lady, you can't complain about the patriarchy and then expect it to support you. Your husband needs a new job away from the family. OP is focusing on the wrong thing. The way I see it, the issue isn't that OP should ask her husband to choose her.